Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Every day we're making plans. And sometimes those plans don't work out. Today we were supposed to have a guest on the Success Blueprint, but the guest didn't show up and is not here. So I had a choice, which is basically, do I cancel the show or do I move forward with this topic? And so the topic is, what do you do when your plan falls apart? If you're a successful person, are there certain things that you would do over someone who maybe has not found their way yet? This really fits in with everything that I've been talking about across all of the shows that I do. And so this is going to be a very different episode today than the one that has been published. So get ready for this learning journey that we're on today. And so our conversation is not about the plan. The plan is not the goal. We become so attached to how something is supposed to work out. We're always looking at the outcomes, instead of looking at what is it that we're actually trying to accomplish. When something doesn't go our way, many times we think it's the end of the world. We make phone calls, we put on social media, I can't believe it, this is an absolute disaster, it did not go my way. But what if there's an actual lesson to be learned there? So what I want you to think about is, if you have something that you're scheduled to do and it involves another person and the other person doesn't show up, what do? Do you immediately go into some kind of chaos mood or become emotionally disparate? Or do you think to yourself, well, what could I do with the time that I now have? So, as this was supposed to be a completely different type of program, I'm looking at it as a way that I can work with you to look at reframing how you're looking at your life. And of course, that's a much bigger picture. But our lives include plans. We're making plans all the time. And sometimes I think it's a good idea to just take a step back and reflect. What is the goal of the plan? But more importantly, what are you going to be accomplishing and learning during that journey? For example, we all look to make some kind of money in our lives. And if I were to ask you, how much money would you like to make this year? How much money would you like to have for your retirement? You may have those numbers in mind. But what about the journey that you take to earn that money? That's really important, because that journey is going to take time. It's going to take resources. And what can you be learning during that journey, instead of just arbitrarily, for example, punching a clock, whether it's a real-time clock or it's that time clock in your head? I can't wait to get through this day. How many times have people said that? I can't wait for the weekend. I can't wait until I can go on vacation. But in the meantime, we're missing the journey that takes us to the weekend, the journey that takes us to the vacation. And I've shared this many times before. I don't take any vacations. And that's not because I'm a masochist. It's because I really do love what it is that I do every day. And if you speak to someone who loves what they're doing, they'll probably share something very similar, that there's no need to get away from my life because I really do enjoy my life. And I hope you're enjoying yours as well. So when something doesn't go the way you want it to go, sometimes we get so tied to the fact that we had a plan. I planned everything out. It was going to be perfect. And then this didn't happen. So as I mentioned, there was supposed to be a guest today. The guest isn't here. So I had a choice, move forward with the show or cancel the show. So I decided I'm moving forward. And I think that that is something for you to consider. What if you take a very different approach and say to yourself, okay, I now have an hour, I have 45 minutes, I have 30 minutes, whatever it might be. What can I do with this time that I wouldn't have been able to do with it before? When we start to align our mindset with this type of thought process, it's much more empowering. You have a choice. The choice is it didn't work out, she didn't show up, this didn't happen, or I took this time and I decided to do X, Y, and Z with it. That's a much more empowering position to be in. And I believe when we are in a position of empowerment, not ego, that it is much easier for us to find peace of mind. I spoke last night on one of our shows about structure and discipline, which I know many people find that to be very boring. Structure, discipline, dull, unsexy, boring, versus chaos and drama. Chaos can be exciting, right? There's so much going on. Look what she's doing, he's doing. Look what's happening, look what's not happening. Instead of looking for the peace. How can you find peace within? And you might say to yourself, well, what does this have to do with today's show topic? It has a lot to do with it, because when plans don't go the way that you wanted them to go, sometimes our emotions become overwhelming. We are so disappointed. We had these expectations. I know for me, every time that I come backstage to host a show with a guest, there is a probability that the guest will not show up. There's a probability the guest will not be prepared. There's a probability that the guest's Wi-Fi isn't working. So I'm always prepared, because in the entertainment industry, there is an expression, the show must go on. And that's a great place to start with a mindset. The mindset is, whether you're in the entertainment business or you're not, the show must go on, meaning we need to keep showing up. We need to expect that our plans will not always go accordingly. One area that I know people can relate to is travel. You make the reservations, you show up at the airport, you show up at the cruise ship, wherever it is that you show up, you get in your car to drive, and something happens. There's a traffic jam, there's an accident. How many times are we stuck in traffic because there's an accident, and all we can think about is, when are they going to clear this up? I can't wait to get out of here. Instead of, what about those people who were in the accident? What about people whose lives are changed forever because of an accident? And we're sitting here complaining because we're stuck for an hour. They may just have lost their lives. They may have lost limbs. Who knows what the situation is? So by refocusing it and saying, you know what, thank you that I'm not the one in the accident. I will sit here. I will sit here and I will be patient. That's reframing. And maybe you will be late to your destination, but maybe that's because that's the way it's supposed to be. Whenever you travel, for example, I know especially traveling overseas, getting connections, maybe taking trains, whatever it might be, there's always something that's going to happen. I know for me, when I was in Europe last year, one of the things that I didn't anticipate on my first trip, I got it together by the second trip, was the inability to quickly get onto trains with my luggage. So long ago, I learned not to travel in heels. I do not ever wear heels anymore. And I see some women in the airport on trains, and I don't know how they do it. I think I did do it when I was younger, but not anymore. I think it's a safety hazard. But trying to get up on from the train platform up onto the train, which might be, I don't know, 8 steps, and you're carrying these giant suitcases, and maybe you're in other countries where people don't speak the language that you speak. That is when your plan doesn't go accordingly and you have to reboot and refocus. And this has actually happened to me in different countries in different ways. So I could get upset and say, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? We do that a lot. We become the victim. Why is this happening to me? But maybe it's happening for you. Maybe it's an opportunity because you're supposed to look for the solution. And that's what I always do. One of the funny travel stories I have, which I think it's funny, you may or may not think it's funny, but I have very long nails, right? And I choose to have these nails. Not everybody likes them, and that's okay. I love them. But I wasn't thinking that my nails might be an impediment when I was traveling. And so last year I was traveling to Europe, and I was going between one airport to my next destination, and I needed to take a train. And in order to take the train, I needed to get a ticket from the kiosk. And so I put my card into the kiosk, and then I literally could not get the card out because my nails were so long. I couldn't get my nails into the card reader to hold on to the ticket. So I had to get someone to come and help me. And it was a little embarrassing, but that's what happened. And then when I was running to get to the train, the elevator, the lift was out. So there were 2 very long staircases that I had to go down with my bags. And it was not physically possible. I mean, I'm pretty strong. I work out all the time. There's no way, especially when the steps are like this wide, you can't even put your whole foot on it. There was no way I was getting down those stairs with my suitcases. So I looked for 3 different solutions and I tried them all out. And finally, what ended up happening was, as I was standing there ready to hurl my bags, seriously, hurl them down the stairs, 2 guys came out of nowhere, one on either side, and grabbed my bags and took them down to the bottom of the platform and took me over to the train and put the bags into the train. So I could have been sitting on the steps crying, feeling sorry for myself, missing the train because my plan wasn't going accordingly. And I looked for solutions. I tried all of them, and then a solution came from the universe. So that's what I'm really talking about. It's knowing your value, knowing your worth, and being prepared when things don't go your way. When you are putting together a plan, what I do is I always factor in something is going to happen that I don't expect. I don't know what it's going to be, but for example, if I am planning a trip that requires multiple flights, I'm not going to pick a flight that I have 20 or 30 minutes or maybe even an hour to get there. In fact, I have a trip coming up, and this was the scenario. So what I decided to do is I'm going to go in the night before. And does that require an additional night? Absolutely. But the stress that I save myself by trying to make a connection that might be in another terminal where I have so much time to get there and then I miss my flight and then I'm stuck till the next day doesn't make sense. So thinking about your plan in a new way, maybe you have something you do every day. Let's say, I'm not a coffee drinker, but let's say you go out for coffee every day and you've got so many minutes to get there before you have to go to the office, for example, or drop the kids off at school. What I always do, even though I might be going 5 miles away, I always use the GPS because the GPS will tell me if there's any traffic scenarios. And I think we take this for granted. We think, well, what's going to happen between here and my house? You never know. So think about including time and steps for the unexpected. Something else I've shared on a regular basis, and some of you might think this is morbid. I don't think it is, but before I leave my home, every time I make sure that everything is in order. There's no dishes in the sink. The bed's always made. The clothes are always folded and put away. Everything is in order. Now, why is that? Well, I very much am structured and disciplined. But if something were to happen to me, because something's going to happen to all of us, when something is happening to me or happens to me, and I'm no longer able to return back to my home, someone else will have to come and take care of my affairs, take care of my things. And why would I want anyone to come into a home that's in a complete state of chaos or disarray? Have you ever had that happen where you walk into someone's home and it's complete chaos? And there's no judgment, but basically everywhere you look, there are things. There's no organization. I remember when I was in sales, when I was in corporate, and sometimes we'd have to ride in our vehicle with another person, and you get into the person's car, they're like, oh, sorry, and they've got old bags of food, they've got kids stuff, they've got there's stuff all over the place. And yes, I have empathy and compassion, especially if you are a parent who is working, but at the same time, that is an indication of what's going on in your life, that your life is in chaos, and people can see that. And it's not about what other people think, but it's about what I'm talking about today. When we have plans and the plans don't work out, if your life is out of order and your life is chaotic personally, it typically will manifest itself in other ways. And when things don't go the way you like, that's when people have a tendency to get extremely emotional about it because they're already unsettled. They're not living a life of peace. And sometimes, I've done it myself, we blame other people. It's his fault, it's her fault, it's the family members who aren't here anymore, it's the president, it could be a million things, but it's never us. We never look at ourselves and go, well, what am I doing to keep myself in this state of chaos? Because the bottom line is, before we put on our hat to be a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a business person, whatever it might be, we are a human being. And as a human being, we have something that AI doesn't have. We have the ability to make a choice about what we're going to do from this very minute on. And when some people lose their minds, my mother had dementia, and I watched it. I was her full-time caregiver. It's a very painful thing. They can't make choices anymore, and other people have to make choices for them. But when you have the ability to make your own choices, think about incorporating a plan B. When I retired from my corporate job in 2020, I worked with a coach, Mariska Dupria, who at the time was in New Zealand, and now she's in Australia. She's one of our team members and my friend. I worked with her to put together my resignation letter and then come up with plan A, B, and C. What would I do if what I wanted to do didn't work out? And of course, what ended up happening was the pandemic. So I had plans A, B, and C, and then the whole world changed. And I'm sure many of you were impacted by that in some way. So we had to shift our mindset. How are we going to move forward? Now, for some people, they didn't move forward. Some people are still commiserating about before COVID. And some people lost their lives. Some people lost their businesses. Some people's lives were completely and totally destroyed as a result of it. And that is a horrific thing. For those who are here and are able to make choices, we can choose to learn something because that was out of our control. And many times in life, things are out of our control. When we see an accident on the other side of the road, that's out of our control. When a fire engine is flying up the road behind us, we have a choice. Are we going to move over? Are we going to be an impediment so that they can't get to where they have to go? Are we going to be screaming and yelling when there's a red light and the person in front of us doesn't go? We have choices. So instead of being in a rush all the time, factor in what happens if. What happens if the elevator in your building breaks down? What happens if your car has a flat tire? What happens if you get a phone call right before you're supposed to walk out the door and it's something very serious that you have to take care of? We never think about putting in the what ifs because when we do that, we're prepared. We don't know exactly what we're prepared for, but we're ready. And I know years ago, many, many years ago, I would fly by the seat of my pants, to use that expression. Meaning, if I had to be somewhere at a certain time, I'd plan on getting there 3 minutes beforehand. And when you have that kind of mindset, you're probably going to be late. One of the greatest lessons I've ever learned was I was working someplace and they didn't announce it, the person in charge, but the person decided to lock the conference room door so that if you did not get there within 5 minutes of the meeting starting, you couldn't get in. That's just the way that it was. I am a big advocate of solid core. As many of you know, it's in the United States only at this moment, but it's a workout. And if you're not there 5 minutes beforehand, then I don't remember if you can't get in or you lose your spot, but there's something. If you don't cancel your reservation within 10 hours, you lose your money. So there are boundaries. And what I'm suggesting is that you put some boundaries into your own life, which are, I'm going to have something, some buffer in my plan for things that may happen that I'm not expecting. What's another one? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get sick. You're feeling great. And the next thing you know, you're not feeling so great. And you have all these plans. And now what are you supposed to do? Or maybe you accepted an invitation to something and then you have something that is an emergency in your life. What do? What could you do? You could possibly, every time you could RSVP, my intention is to be there. And that makes people feel uncomfortable. What do you mean your intention is to be there? Well, unless something unforeseeable happens, I'm going to be there. That's a true and valid statement because things come up that we don't know. But how we react is the key. How we show up is the key. When something doesn't go according to plan, are you prepared? Meaning, are you expecting that something might go wrong? And I'll give another example. As you probably know, if you're in business or in sales, there's always an opportunity to do some prospecting. There's always an opportunity to grow your business. And growing your business means that you're going to be having conversations with people who are potentially interested in joining your organization. And when I first started as a business owner and someone would say, I'm really interested in joining your team, I would get so excited. Oh my gosh, I'd be excited calling people. This is amazing. So-and-so said they want to join the team. And then so-and-so took no action. A day would go by, 2 days would go by, a week would go by. And then I'd contact them and say, I don't understand. We had this incredible conversation. We're laughing and we're talking about the future. And then I just don't hear from you. And it could be a voice message. It could be a text. It could be an email. Really sounding kind of desperate, actually. And then sometimes the person would get back and say something came up, or sometimes the person would just ghost me and never get back. So today, with that knowledge, I anticipate that most times when people say they want to do something, they mean well, but taking action is another story. And I've shared this before, but it's a perfect time. I have a new book coming out, which is called Stop: Why Knowing Isn't Enough. We know information. We have access to information, but do we take action? You're watching this show today. Will you take away something from this show that you will actually put into motion? So we have the conversation, and let's use an example here today. And I'm not calling anyone out because I don't do that, but someone registered to be a guest. We sent all the information out saying, this is where you need to be. This is how you can contact us. This is the link. This is when you need to join. And the person didn't show up. I expect that. I expect that, let's say out of every 10 people, 3 people will not show up. And why is that? Well, in every case, there's a different reason. 1, maybe it's not a priority. 2, maybe it's a time zone issue. That can happen because we have time zones all over the world. We're in 60 different countries. But we do provide the information showing look it up in your own time zone. It's based on New York time. And 3 could be the person or persons are living in a time of chaos. And of course, I am not saying this about anyone in particular. I'm just giving examples. Sometimes we have so much going on in our life that we are not on top of what it is that we committed to doing. And I've seen people go through this, and I've seen people come out the other side. So it's a journey, and there's no judgment. There is no judgment. That's why I wrote this book, Holy But Harmful, The Silent Sin of Judgment, because judgment is what puts up barriers and walls between us. When you make a commitment to do something, I would ask you to think about, before making a commitment, ask for some time to consider. I'd like to think about this. This sounds interesting. It sounds like something I might be interested in doing, but I'd like to reflect on it. That is very different than, yes, I want to move forward with this. I'd like to be a guest on the show. I'd like to work on your team. I'd like to hire you. That's very different than, I'm interested and I need some time. And mostly people will respect that, because I know personally, I don't ever want to rush someone or pressure someone. I want someone to feel like it is a good fit. Now, I'll give another example. We had a person who came to us, I think from the general public, and the person booked in 3 different interviews with us. And the person didn't show up for any of the 3. And then the person reached out. And by the way, I'm not the only person who interviews here. We have right now, I think we have 34 different TV show hosts. So one of the shows was with me and 2 were with team members. And so the person sent an email with a whole long list of excuses and that they'd like to be a guest on an upcoming episode. So as a business owner, I had to draw the line and say, unfortunately, because you didn't show up for 3 times, we're not going to be able to interview you, because the expectation that you've set is that you will not show up. And the expectation is that this isn't important to you. So be mindful of the plans you make. Many times we will make plans because we think we're making someone else happy. I'm pleasing someone else. I'm doing it for someone else. But that will typically backfire. You can only do it for so long before there's some kind of resentment. Resentment on your part because you really don't want to do it, and resentment on the other person's part because they know you don't want to do it. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone and they keep showing up, but they're not happy about being there? And you can tell they're just kind of miserable. And the way they speak to you, it's disrespectful. And the person will say, well, I'm here, aren't I? I'm here every day. I'm paying the bills. I'm showing up. And you think, oh my gosh, I'd rather you not be here and you find happiness somewhere else so that I can find happiness. So just going along with a scenario or a plan because you think you're doing it for someone else, at some point, it will backfire. I'm sure you can look at different times in your life and situations that you were in, and you can look back and say, you know what? I really was pretty angry. I really was pretty resentful. Here's a perfect example. Holidays are coming up. And whether you celebrate Christmas, New Year's, in the States, we have Thanksgiving. And the holidays are usually a time of year that there's a lot of stress, a lot of expectations. Maybe you're going to events. I know there's a lot of gatherings and events that are in the November, December timeframe. And maybe you really don't want to go, but you tell your spouse or your significant other, you know what, fine, I'll go to your company office party. And it's like you're doing them a favor. And probably they'd rather go by themselves than have you complain between now and then about how much you don't want to go. And then you do go and you're absolutely miserable. So you go along with a plan that you don't really want to do to make someone else happy, but yet you're making them miserable and making yourself miserable. When Maybe it's a different conversation. Maybe the conversation is, listen, I really love you and care about you and I want to support you, but I really prefer not to go to the company office party. And then maybe that person's not going to be happy. And then maybe you have a conversation about why it is that they're not happy, why it is that they need you to go with them. Because maybe they have their own issues going on. Maybe they don't feel comfortable going to an event by themselves. Maybe they think that people will perceive there's something wrong in the marriage if they don't bring you with them. But if you do go with them, people can see there's something wrong in the marriage because you're completely miserable and don't want to be there. So think about all of these things, accepting plans that are not things you want to do. Yes, do we have to do things sometimes because that's just the way it is? Absolutely. But doing things on a regular basis you don't want to do because you think it's making someone else happy. Maybe you have an agreement in your personal situation where you can do this and I'll do that. And I know of people who have these understandings. For example, I get to go play golf on a Sunday so that you can go and do this. And maybe that works out. Or maybe the person's like, listen, I'm a golfer and I'm going on Sundays, whether you like it or not. And the person goes golfing and the other person's at home. And the person's like, well, how many hours has it been since this person left to go golfing? They've been gone for longer than they said. And then you come home from golfing. The person's like, well, what have you been doing? I've been sitting here in this house taking care of this, this, and this. And like, oh my gosh, why did I even bother to come home? I should have just stayed out for the rest of the day because I'm going to be yelled at anyway. So when we make plans, let's be really cognizant of why we're making them. Let's be cognizant of what we want to achieve during the journey to accomplish the plan. And let's be prepared that the plan will not always go accordingly. And when it doesn't go according to plan, how do we show up? Are our emotions in check, or are we completely distraught? Are we now going into victim mode? This always happens to me. Why does this happen to me? Instead of, this happened for me. What am I going to learn from this? And I'll give an example. One of our team members here, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying, Mr. Roland Friedel, he recently broke his foot. He was doing stand-up paddleboarding, and as it turns out, he broke his foot. And so initially, he was upset about it. And then he started thinking, well, what can I do with this time? Because I can't do my usual activities. I can't do my outdoor activities. I can't even walk my dog. What can I do? And he decided to focus on writing his books. He decided to focus on starting his new business. So instead of becoming a victim, he became empowered. And that's what I'm suggesting for you. All of us go through things in life that are unpleasant. Some of them are horrific. But as humans, we get a choice. And the choice is, what will we do now? How will we become empowered in the moment to learn from what's going on and move to the other side? I have shared with you that I've had ulcerative colitis now for 35 years. And if you're not familiar with it, it is a horrific disease. It is called the bathroom disease. And basically, my colon and intestines are lined with ulcers. There's no cure for it. It's chronic. There's a lot of bleeding. And when it gets to be really bad, which I typically get it every year, I don't get it for a day. It's not something where, oh, I don't feel well today, it must be my ulcerative colitis. No, it's 3 months, it's 6 months. It's taking over everything. It can control your life if you let it. You can be running to the bathroom 50 times a day, and I'm not exaggerating. But I'm not angry that I have this disease, because I wouldn't be here today with you, with this television network. I wouldn't be on the journey that I've been on had it not been for the ulcerative colitis. And it's too long of a story to go into. But the point is that all these things that happen to us, they make us stronger if we believe in it and we use it as a way to empower ourselves. So thank you for listening today. I really do appreciate it. I'd love for you to do something for me, which would be to subscribe to our 2 YouTube channels, USA Global TV and Radio. If you're watching right now, are you on YouTube? Can you just click that subscribe button? Or maybe you're on our second channel, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Can you click that subscribe button? I know you can. That would mean a lot. And also click that bell so that you know about all of our episodes. If you'd like to, my latest book is out. It's called Stop Giving Away Your Value. Basically how we give things away for free, which I'm an advocate of giving things away, absolutely. But we have to have boundaries, and we have to say, you know what? This is something that I value and I'm going to charge for. This is over on Amazon. And my new book is coming out, Stop Why Knowing Isn't Enough. And you'll be able to, you actually can pre-order that right now on Amazon. So thank you again for being here. We are going to be signing off right now. We're going to hear a word from our dear friend and team member, Tracy Cram-Perkins, who helped me quite a bit when my mom had dementia before her passing. And Tracy has a book called Dementia Home Care Before, During, and After. And she has a television show by the same name, which is coming up right after this show. So stay tuned and remember to subscribe. Thank you so much. USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care, How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.